Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy, and you're listening to my podcast, Vox and Hops, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians and talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. I hope that you've had a good rest of the week. I hope that you are ready to have an excellent weekend. I hope that you have bought your Devastation on the Nation 2020 tickets. Devastation on the Nation 2020 features Rotting Christ, Borknagar, Wolfheart, Abigail Williams, and Imperial Triumphant. And some of these shows have already sold out, and many more of them are going to. I can guarantee you that. So if you do not have your tickets, you absolutely should go pick them up via the link in the description of this podcast, or you could simply go to www.metalfestivaltours.com. Trust me, this is a party that you do not want to miss. Devastation on the Nation 2020 is proudly brought to you by Metal Festival Tours, Continental Concerts USA, and yours truly, the Vox&Hops Podcast. This Vox&Hops episode is brought to you by Jonathan Desmaires, who helps support the Vox&Hops Podcast by going to www.voxandhops.com, the Vox&Hops website, and clicking on the donate button and donating some funds towards the podcast. So thank you so much for helping support the podcast. It means a lot, and I really appreciate it, Jonathan. Merci beaucoup. Today on the podcast, I am actually not sitting down with a fellow musician. I am sitting down with a fellow craft beer nerd, a craft beer blogger who happens to also be a metalhead. Today I'm with Kaiser Dwayne from Hopcitizen. Here it is, Vox and Hops, episode number 102.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I'm with Kaiser Dwayne from Hopcitizen.
Hey, how you doing?
We're at Beauregard Brasserie Distillerie in Montreal, and this is the first time I've come here.
Mine too as well,
You've come here.
Yeah, that's it.
When we spoke about doing a sort of collaborative episode, we talked about where to go, and you brought up this place.
Exactly.
And I was like, let's do it.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. Like, I like that you were on board as well, you know, because like, I was like ready for this place, and you were like, yeah, let's do this spot. Like, it's perfect.
The best way to work with collaborations is like an improv. You say yes,
For sure.
and it just gets things just moving forward much faster.
There we go.
I've learned that from being in a band for many
Nice,
years.
that's it. Yeah, right on.
Let's give everyone a little rundown. What is Hopcitizen? What do you do? Tell us all about you.
So Hopcitizen is a blog that I run. I am the sole person that's running it. I do the photos, I drink the beer, I do the writing, I do the edits, I do all of it. And I've been doing it now for about 4 years. It started out just as a passion project. You know, when I moved here, I started drinking a bunch of craft beer locally to try to discover the market in Montreal and Quebec and Canada, coming from California. So I wanted to try a bunch of things, and obviously I had no idea what to try first. And what occurred was, okay, I'm going to go online. Let me look up something. I really want that West Coast Piney IPA that I used to drink in California, and I found some articles, and I was like, you know what? It's really cool that there's people out there that actually do this as a hobby to send out information for people like me who are like new and kind of want to discover things. And you can look up media online and articles and reviews, and I've always been really into writing growing up, so I kind of took it as a perfect match for me to take my kind of obsession with craft beer and make it into, I love writing, smash the two together and just do an article and let's get a blog going. And it just kind of started that way, and then it became like a pretty fun, exciting project that just has now continued.
Do you remember what that first beer was?
Of course, it was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Really?
For me, yes, it was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. So when I moved to California, like, you know, California was like a big booming craft beer scene since the 70s, since Fitz Maytag took over the Anchor Brewing Company and revolutionized the steam beer. And it was the place to be at the right time. And when I moved there, all I was drinking was shitty-ass Miller Lite, you know, even Miller High Life, the champagne of beers, all that fucking garbage. And I had my really good friend that I had met in the dorm rooms in school, and we would always go out and smoke together. And he had a roommate who would always drink these fancy ass fucking beers, and he'd always show up to these parties with this green fucking beer in his hand, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you drinking, man? And he's like, dude, stop drinking that piss water and drink this. And I always refused. I always told him, like, dude, no, I don't want your fucking random ass fancy beer, like, fuck it. One day I gave up because he kept fucking hassling me, because he knew that I can tell that you like beer and you will fucking like this.
You have more of a palate than you know.
Exactly. Like, you have to have this ether. It will change your fucking life. And one day I caved in. I was at a party and he shows up again with a fucking 6-pack of this shit, and he's like, take it and drink it. And I fucking drank it, and I'm like, what the fuck have I been doing this whole time, drinking this shit? And it was a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. So
I've said it on the podcast before. It was one of my precursor beers for sure. On Summer Slaughter 2008.
Nice, there you go.
Me and Christian Donaldson definitely drank a whole bunch of Blue Moons and Sierra Nevadas back in the day. Yeah, and a whole bunch of horrible natural lights.
Yeah, Natty Light.
Natty Lights.
Okay, not Natty Light, Natural Light.
I think it was Natural Light. It was horrible. It was piss water.
It's fucking
cheap ass corn
shit,
syrup.
Man. It's terrible.
But it got the job done, and we got through Summer Slaughter.
Man, I don't think it gets the job done though. Like, you'll get like a 12-pack of PBR, and it'll take you like 15 to even fucking get drunk.
No, you just get to a nice little.
Yeah, you get to. Like,
I remember I used to have with Coors Light, before I got into it.
Oh man.
Let's see what these beers got.
Let's
we have 2 flights in front of us. So we're starting off with their Lager Noire, their black lager. It's sort of new, he was telling me.
Nice.
Let's see what it's got.
Nice. Cheers.
It smells a little bit malty.
I really like this whole, like, well, at least for me, like, I've gone from let's do pale ales and let's do IPAs, let's do double IPAs, to let's do barrel-aged fucking bourbon stouts. And now I'm at that point where I've been drinking all this shit for such a long time. I've hit that top point, and then I've gone down, and I'm like, yeah, I just want a good pils or like a dark lager, and it's fucking great.
I love varieties, so the fact that if you guys don't know what Beauregard is all about, they only make dark beers, which I find very refreshing in a haze craze environment that we're in. Like, so this is still, a little bit malty, but it tastes like a classic Czech pils almost.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And I mean, I kind of like that business model as well for Beauregard, because I've talked to many brewers or brewery owners, and they always tell me, like, well, we don't want to make the fucking IPA, but we kind of have to. And I'm like, why do you have to? It's because everyone starts out into this kind of craze for microbreweries with IPAs and pale ales. Like, everybody wants an IPA, everybody wants to drink a pale ale. People don't want to go from, like, Budweiser to a fucking Imperial coconut stout,
It's too much. It's too much of a jump.
Yeah, so if they do that, they're going to be like, no, I don't want to do this. It's not what I want. Like, it's not good. But if you take them slowly to transition through, like, the pale ale and IPA, it's perfect, because it's just a little bit up from the shitty Budweisers and that kind of stuff. There's a little bit more hoppiness with a bit more bitterness. Some kind of tropical fruits in there sometimes, here and there, and it's a really good intro beer for non-microbrewery drinkers. And I like that they are kind of focusing on just this, even though the IPAs sell. And the IPAs and pale ales will make the brand money, so they can do the stuff that they actually want to do. It's good to see that they're like, this is our vision, this is what we want, and this is how we're going to make it. And that's it.
And it's absolutely doing well, because everybody loves their products.
Exactly.
They've been putting out solid bangers. They just celebrated their 1-year anniversary.
Exactly.
And a huge shout out to Cedric for welcoming us here today.
Definitely.
And giving us such a warm welcome.
Exactly.
This is delicious. A very easy drink.
Very nice.
Drinkable, crushable.
And it's 5.4%. So
it's almost like a Coca-Cola color would be my.
Yeah, it's true.
My
there
description.
Isn't much carbonation on it, and it is a bit clear as well, but not as clear. But yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, to make like a correlation of pale ales as a gateway beer.
Yeah,
I would do it as, people listening to Nickelback.
Oh God.
And then gradually get into Slipknot to make their way to Cannibal Corpse.
What's funny is last night I was drinking, I opened up like a porter right before bed. That's why I sent you the photo last night,
That's right. When in doubt, one more stout.
Except for me, it was when in doubt, one more porter. And I didn't realize at that point that it was a 11% porter. I thought it was like, 9%. Like, yeah, it's a 500 ml. I can probably crush it before I go to sleep, I had to wait a few hours for it to warm up to a good level because it's a barrel-aged bourbon porter. And, man, I was sipping on that for 3 hours.
Wow.
And in the process, I was doing some blog work / I decided to feel a little bit nostalgic, so I put on some Nickelback. I'm not joking. This is actually true. So the fact that you mentioned that is hilarious.
That's too funny.
Because, I don't know. I was just fucking there, and you know what? How You Remind Me is like one of the songs that kind of took me from... I was already listening to kind of like punkish kind of stuff back then, but the alternative phase showed up, and I was listening to Linkin Park and Nickelback and all that kind of junk. Love Linkin Park. Nickelback, not so much. Not anymore. But then it, like you said, then I heard Slipknot, I heard Slayer, and it just kind of climbed drastically from there.
We actually met in person at the Vox&Hops one-year anniversary party, but we almost met a few weeks before that. I visually met you when I watched you stage dive during Suffocation.
Suffocation, hell
at
yes.
the Despised Icon Suffocation Ingested Kubai Clan and Shadow of Intent show at Club Soda earlier this year. So I was with Ollie, my bassist, and he was like, yeah, there's a beer guy here. He knows you. And he's like, oh, that's him, as you jump off the stage. So let's talk about why do you think metal and beer go so well together?
Yes, it's more of just like, as far as the kind of history of metal and how it kind of evolved into a genre stems from people that, Rob Zombie says it best in the Headbanger's Journey documentary, where he mentions like metal is the music for outsider people, introverted people, and when we come together at a concert, we just become ourselves and we let loose, we mosh, we crowd surf, we stage dive, we do stupid shit, but it's kind of like our way of relieving that whatever aggression you may have in life or even happiness you may have in life. Like it's and it works well with craft beer because I don't know, we just tend to party and have fun and go in the mosh pit and have a few drinks.
You were mentioning earlier that you go to these beer events all the time, so you meet a bunch of people, and then you go to concerts and you would cross the same people. So,
like it's I don't know exactly what makes that connection, but I guess it's more of just like an artistic level. Like it's an artistic connection because music is artistic and there's different facets to it. And it kind of relates to microbrewery as well, or you have like standard AB InBev stuff like Budweiser. It's just one fucking thing, and that's what you're gonna get. But with microbreweries, you can kind of discover new beers, new breweries, new styles. Just like in metal, you have so many different subgenres and subcategories, and you can kind of love black metal, but you can also love 70s punk.
That's right.
You can listen to freaking deathcore like Die Artist Murder, but still maybe play Nickelback at 2 a.m. drinking a porter, So it's I guess it's that variety of options that you have in the artistic sense that kind of connects the two together, and it goes well. And it's not just microbrewery and metal. You can have metal and a whole other variety of art fields that really just work well together.
When you said that you moved here, you started trying to find that West Coast IPA that you were drinking in California.
Yeah.
What would have been some of those places that you went to that you found and became the inspiration for Hopcitizen?
So pretty much how it worked was I moved here from California in 2011. And when I initially moved here, I was on a visitor permit. So I wasn't able to work. And I was only here for maybe 2 or 3 months. I saw my market for my job, so I kind of extended my visitor permit, and then I got a working holiday as an Australian. And obviously back then it was like, no job, no money, very, very minimal spending. So I was just drinking really crap beer. And then that's when I said, okay, now that I'm stable in my position and my job, I want to actually explore the microbrewery scene here. And that's when I looked up the stuff. And for me, I wanted the West Coast thing, like you're saying. And the first thing that I saw on the shelf was La Castor's Yakima IPA. And I tried that. And then the other thing I saw was Deux de Ciel's Moralité. So I tried that. Both of them I fell in love with instantly. Because, of course, like I had a Moralité on tap yesterday at a Time Out Market. I was with a friend of mine, and you know, it's nice to have that throwback, because Moralité still, to me, tastes fucking phenomenal.
My question really was, like, who were your inspirations when shaping your blog? You have to look to beerism.ca as like an influencer in my mind, because he's known as the big boy of the beer blog world from Quebec.
What happened was, when I searched IPAs in Canada, IPAs in Quebec, it was his article that actually popped up on my Google search. And it was, he wrote an article about Great Lakes from Ontario. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, I need to get some Great Lakes. And I was like, well, fuck, it's in fucking Ontario. Like, I'm not in Ontario, I'm in fucking Quebec. So then, I guess seeing how he could do something as a hobby, like I mentioned earlier, you know, and spread the information out to people like me who are trying to get information and make decisions accordingly, was really cool to me. So obviously he played a big role in influencing me to decide to do this, because I saw him and I was like, well, he's very well, you know, he's able to like really write well, and he's writing about beer. I love writing, and I obviously love beer, so I can definitely match the two together like he did and kind of do a nice little hobby. So of course he was obviously probably like a first influence. Other than that, I guess I just saw that there was one other guy that used to blog in English, but he stopped blogging a long time ago. And you know, I'm here in Quebec. I do know French, but I'm not fluent in French, and I wanted to do my blog in English. And there's only two of us really that did it in English back then when I started. It was Beerism and me, and that was it. And we had multitasker Derek, who he does things on and off, but not as frequent as, I guess, Beerism. I mean, Beerism is a guy, Noah's doing things like full on, you know. Like for me, it's like I'll try to live up to that level that Noah does, but man, I just don't have the time to keep up with it. You know, it's tough, man. You got work, you got a wife, you got this, you got that, you know, you got chores. It's hard to kind of combine everything together and make it happen.
And it's at the end of it, it's a passion project. Same thing with Vox&Hops. There's no finances coming from this.
No, that's it. There's no finances.
The only perk is once you start receiving those first packages in the mail, when breweries start taking you serious and start encouraging, see you as a potential way to market their products.
Exactly.
At what point did that happen? And who would have been that first brewery that trusted you to send you products?
So I started out in 2015. And back then I would just seek out stuff, buy stuff, and try it out, and then maybe write about it. I think the first people that really kind of decided to start sending me things to help them market was probably Boreal when they came out with the Nordest.
Really?
Yeah, I think as far as my memory goes, maybe yes, Boreal.
Such a groundbreaking beer that...
Yeah, I know that Gabriel and Florent, he contacted me, and he's like, here you go. Like, we've got this coming out. It's the first new kind of rebranding that we're doing, and we're doing a hazy IPA. And they sent me a few cans, and I remember the moment I was sitting on the kitchen table. I cracked it open. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. Poured it in the glass. I drank it, I smelled it, and I looked at my wife, and I'm like, this is the one.
Boreal's back.
I'm like, this is the one that I have been searching for locally to have like a hazy, fruity, tropical IPA. So I guess
Change the game. Them, like
Abigail, totally changed the game. That's it, yeah. So they were probably one of the first ones that really started sending me stuff to cover. And then, of course, Olivier from Matera. Olivier from Matera contacted me super early in their when their brewery was first starting out. Like at that point, they had just had a vision that they were working on. He had shown me the plans that they wanted to do for their actual personal brewery space, and he sent me their Tam Tam session in a growler.
Really?
That's super cool. The first batch of the Tam Tam session he ever sent, and that they ever did. And I hated it. I told them. I wrote an article and everything, but I told them, like, no, I really, it's good. It's not terrible. I drank the whole freaking growler. It's not like I poured it away. It was not a bad beer, but obviously it's experimental. Like, it's the first batch that they did. They're going to change the recipe a bit.
Was that when they were at Schlag already? Or was it when it was a homebrew?
This was before. Yeah. This is when they were homebrew. And then, like, shortly after, like, in that time frame, they were still kind of finalizing things with Oshlag, and then they moved over to Oshlag, and then they had their second round of Tam Tam, and it just got better and better and better. Because obviously, you know, they're starting young, they're starting new, they're still kind of working with their brewing system, they're still kind of working with their recipes. As a beer, I loved it, the first batch that they ever made, but as a session IPA, not so much. Like, it was still a great beer to drink, but it was not a session IPA in any way. But now, of course, they've perfected the recipe, and it's more of like a proper session IPA that they want to do.
I love Matera. They are on
Matera is amazing.
Me and Craig's top 10 brewery list for a reason. Stuttgart Stout is probably one of the best stouts in Quebec.
Like what I was saying earlier was, you know, like Beauregard, they just want to do stouts. This is what they want. This is what they're good at. Matera, they want to do their wild ales and their stouts and their barrel aging, and that's what they do best. And everything that I've had from them as far as like wild or sours or barrel aged stouts is phenomenal.
Absolutely, that Frau Riesling.
Loved it. Yeah. Fuck, that was good.
The peach. Yeah, the
peach one was really good too. Yeah, I had the Frau Riesling in Laurier Park actually.
Really?
Because they had like a bunch of brewers that met up, and they invited me over, so I came, and that's when I first had it, and it was delicious.
Awesome. Speaking of further beers, we're moving on to the Imperial Framboise Noire. This is a blended beer, actually, of their classic sour raspberry beer and their bourbon stout. Clocks in at a very, very sneaky 8.8%. I had this last weekend, so I know what it's like.
Nice.
Let's see what it's got here.
Right on.
Smells, you can smell on the nose, the raspberries.
I think framboise and stouts just are a perfect match.
So good. Just boozy enough. Just sour enough. It's like a perfectly balanced beer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
It's very dark. Reddish a little bit.
Well, it's a funny story about, you know, we're drinking stouts here at Beauregard, and this is what they do. They like dark beers. When I started drinking craft beer a long time ago when I was in California, but I never really branched off to having stouts. I had porters here and there, but never stouts. Even when I moved to Quebec, never had a stout. And the only reason why is because I don't really drink caffeine.
Okay.
Like, I stopped having caffeine 13, 14 years ago.
Wow, I'm impressed. I need caffeine to survive.
I mean, I have green tea, but that's the only kind of caffeinated beverage I will ever drink. I don't drink coffee, I don't drink soda, I don't drink anything else.
And water and beer.
Water and beer, exactly. I don't even drink juice, so yes, it's literally just water, beer, and green tea. That's my motto, you know, in life. But I never actually drank stouts, and every time I'd go, I'd drive to Hill Farmstead, they'd have stouts, I would never buy them. And it was actually Noah who told me, he's like, why aren't you drinking stouts? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, well, I don't drink coffee. And he's like, you know that not all stouts don't have coffee. And I'm like, well, they taste like coffee. And it's like, yeah, it's just the malts. And I'm like, that makes sense. So I will now drink stouts.
And then you did. Yeah.
And I did. And I do still drink sometimes coffee stouts because I'm like, fuck it. Coffee stouts are amazing, but they'll keep me up all night.
Really? You feel
oh my God, yeah. Like, I did an article for Do the Ciel on their Pêche Mortel.
So good.
Pêche Mortel is fucking delicious. And it's world known. Like, people,
and it's bang for your buck.
Exactly. But, man, if I'm ever gonna... That article, it took me a long time to actually get everything together to write it, because I could only have one Pêche Mortel variant. That also starting at 3 p.m.
So that would wear off for you to be able to go to sleep
by
at a
like 1 and I
reasonable
could
time.
pass out. anytime I've ever drank a Pesce Mortel at 9, I'm awake till 7 a.m.
Really?
I'm fucking
Holy
wired.
shit. It's like cocaine for you.
It is like cocaine. And my wife loves it for one reason and one reason only, because at 3 a.m. I'm fucking cleaning the entire house.
There you go.
You know, like I'm wired as fuck. I've got the broom and I'm doing it. I can't sleep anyway, so why not? Fuck it.
You mentioned before that you didn't enjoy the first Tam Tam. When people send you free beer to review, do you feel an obligation to be nice to them?
I do feel an obligation to be nice to them, but I
like in your
don't,
reviews if you don't like the beer.
Like I mean, yes, obviously I'm going to be nice, and I tell this to people all the time. Like whenever they do decide that they want to send me some stuff to review, I'm like, okay, listen, you know who I am, you've read my reviews, you've read my articles, you know how I write. I'm always honest, but I'm never bashing. Like I'm not going to be an asshole and be like, oh, this is fucking garbage, I drain poured it, don't drink it. But I'm not going to be like, this is bloody amazing, it's a 5 on 5. No, I'm going to give you an honest review. If I don't like it, I will tell you, like, it's not my cup of tea, and these are the reasons why. I don't think it really lived up to this level that I expected, and that's it. I'll be, you know, formal and nice and respectful.
Yes, because it is someone's baby.
It's exactly like if
it's like
someone
reviewing someone's album.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like reviewing someone's album, or if, like, I'm working on a film and it comes out and they're like, oh, that movie was shit. You know, we're like, my heart and soul went into that.
And many hours and
exactly,
the finances.
So obviously you have to be respectful, but you also have to be honest. One, because it helps the consumers know, okay, this is his opinion. And I always say this thing at the end is like, even though I didn't like it, you might.
Yeah, which
because
is a good
it's
thing.
subjective. Like what you love, I hate. What I hate, you know, like it's different for everybody and every style. So I always tell them, like, you know, try it out for yourself. Maybe you might love it, maybe you might not. But that's the whole point of this culture, is that we get to go out, explore, and try different things. You know, that's the untapped culture. Like, you want to untap it, so you might as well go out and try it, even if it's not living up to my hype. But yeah.
Something that I've realized after having a podcast for over a year now is I love craft beer. I like to drink craft beer, but it makes my body, you know, it's hard to stay in shape having a craft beer podcast and being a blogger. What is your secret, if you have one?
My secret is I have gained 15 pounds, and I'm trying to lose it now. That's my secret. I don't have a secret.
In 4 years.
In 4 years,
That's not so bad. It could be worse.
No, it could be worse. So usually what happens is, like, I'll reach... I literally set myself a limit. I'm like, when you hit this weight, shape the fuck up, you know? And then I'll drop down 10 pounds, and then I'll go up 10 pounds. I'll go on vacation.
And it's just not drinking beer, or it's you do a regiment?
No, it's... I don't really work out as much as I used to. I did work out a lot before, but with work and this, it's hard to kind of get the time to just make it happen.
Because when we go through a drinking night, it's easily 1,000 calories.
Like,
easily.
I know. Like,
but more, for sure.
It's what I was telling you just earlier. Like, dude, like a stout like this, it's like 300, 400 calories just for a pint. It's insane.
It's a meal in itself.
It's a meal in itself. Like, you have 4 pints of stout. That's 2,000 calories.
That's your daily intake.
It's your daily intake for food. Holy shit. Can you imagine doing that like 3 times a week? You're going to gain weight for sure.
Is there a point where you still enjoy drinking craft beer? You get sent beer, you have to review it. How do you deal with that? I'm at sort of getting into this, that I have beers in my house. Late night decisions tend to me want to go grab it. You can't grab it. So if you do grab it, you have to write a review, take pictures of it.
That's it. So it is definitely a process, because then, you know, you bring out the camera, you do your thing, you take the photos, you take your notes, you drink it. And it does become difficult when you get a lot of stuff coming in. When it's things like, you know, barrel-aged stouts or saisons or wild ales, it's easier, and you can kind of plan out your month and be like, okay, on these days I'll have this, and you can spread it out. But when you get 20 IPAs, oh, you're screwed.
Yeah, because IPAs have shelf life.
Yeah, exactly. They have the shelf life. So, and for me, I'm always like, I always want to have my IPAs, if I've never had it before, at the latest when they're 3 weeks aged. Just
3 weeks aged.
If I have doubles,
Okay.
I'll have one at 3 and I'll have one at 6, just to get an
Okay.
idea of how it kind of progresses over time. Because some breweries, IPAs at 3 weeks are phenomenal, and then 4th week they fall off hard.
Yes.
Some breweries can go on for 8 weeks and it's fine. You know,
How about, do you still go out and purchase beer?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. Yeah.
Your top Quebec microbrewery of 2019.
I would say the two that have really... I mean, there's still a lot I need to discover. I've been so busy building my new house, moving into the house, starting a new job and a new position. So it's been quite a crazy year this year. So I haven't really had the opportunity to go to all the new places that I've heard about and try all the places like Sir John, Gallicus. Like, there's lots of stuff I have yet to try. I did go to Wood Brothers in the summer, which was amazing. I love Wood Brothers. So that's definitely, for me, one for sure is Wood Brothers Brewing. And they're not really Quebec, but they're in Ontario. It's close enough. It's on the border, you know. Besides that, locally from Quebec, I would have to say that Avant-Garde. I mean, they opened up their brewery this summer.
It's huge. It's an amazing contract brewer success story.
It is, and I love it. And Jukebox Distortion is actually the third one that I had. So it was Yakima, Moralité, and then Distortion.
Which is amazing. Jukebox. It was available everywhere.
Exactly.
It was awesome.
It was.
Yeah, I agree.
And I have been in contact with Renaud and Sean from Avant-Garde for eons, you know, since I started this. And super chill guys.
Absolutely.
Super friendly. It's, you know, you feel like family when you see them. They're just open to everybody. And it's really good to see that they finally have their own place, have their own spot, and they're doing amazing beers. And then the third I would say would be probably Matera, because their barrel-aged stuff is incredible. So yeah, I'd say those three for sure. Anything else, I'm not really too sure about.
Kaiser, thank you so much for coming.
Cheers, of course.
Drinking some beers
Thanks for
with
having
me.
Hell yes.
On Vox and Hops. We're going to keep hanging out, drinking a whole bunch of beers here, and you'll see all of those pictures and reviews on Hopcitizen. I'm going to put that link in the description. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. I love sitting down with fellow metal, media, craft beer people, digging deeper into what their lives are like, dealing with a passion that has turned into a hobby, that has turned into something that is completely taken over our lives. Not many people understand this. As much as I can chit-chat with fellow band people about my band, First World Problems, not everyone understands what it's like having a podcast, having a blog focused on craft beer, some of the problems and some of the complications that arise with that. It's very interesting to pick someone's brain who is living the same complications that you are. Some of these problems that arise when you are a craft beer blogger, if you have a craft beer podcast, are a craft beer social media entity, is you run out of time. Which is why, sadly, at this point, Kaiser Dwayne from Hopcitizen didn't have a chance to complete his side of this collaborative episode. As soon as his link is up, I shall drop that link into the description of this podcast. I will post it all over my socials, and then you can check it out there. Huge shout out to Kaiser Dwayne for sitting down with me, and a massive shout out to Cédric and the rest of the Beauregard Brasserie Distillerie team and crew. Their beers are fucking incredible. If they are not on your radar yet, they absolutely should be. Only dark beers, barrel-aged beers, absolutely delicious. If you can find them, you should get some. I'm super stoked about their products, about this brewery. So excited for them, and I can't wait to taste more of their beers. So a huge thank you. Merci, Cédric. Merci to the rest of the team. I will be back. As always, the best way to support the Vox&Hops podcast is via the Vox&Hops Big Cartel page. There are no more shirts up there. I have closed the pre-orders on all the shirts. I'm going to be taking a break on that for right now. But there are still some cuff knit beanies up there. Not too many, but I still have a few in stock. And I still have a few of the Vox&Hops 9-ounce tasting glasses up there. You can grab those. It helps support the podcast. If you want to be cool, just as cool as Jonathan Desmarais was, I would like to donate some funds towards the Vox&Hops podcast. You can do that via the Vox&Hops website. That's www.voxandhops.com. and click that donate button, and I'll give you a shout out on the upcoming episodes. I hope that you guys have a great weekend. I hope that you have a great week. Remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.